Hey there everyone, my name is AJ Pickett and I make videos about role-playing games. Lots of them. I upload twice a week with a live stream every weekend. You can also find me on Subscribestar, Patreon, and Discord, Facebook, and Twitter. Also, there's an option to join the channel as a member, and I welcome any questions you have in the comment section below as always. And if you like this video, or this channel, or me, hit the like button if you would be so kind. Time for another dragon video, and another entry in our menagerie of the weirdest monsters of Dungeons & Dragons. This one from the same literary source as The Death Sheep, Dragon Magazine issue 156, printed in April 1990. This monster was created by K. L. Lilly, although it's one I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while, because it's got so many applications. Once long ago, there was a wizard who was engaged in an activity that obsesses many wizards. Since they have so much time and expense invested in their arcane knowledge, their spellbooks and library are of extreme importance to them. They safeguard their most valuable and irreplaceable tomes as best they can, and often seek magical or otherwise exotic means to further guard and protect them. For wizards, their spellbooks and their scrolls and their arcane research are more valuable to them than gold and jewels. Legend holds that this almost two-dimensional creature I'm about to talk about was created to resemble, or possibly is, a true dragon. The wizard responsible for its creation was a bit eccentric, obviously, and had set out to create a guardian for his library of spells. After creating the paper dragon and finding out how well the creature worked, he channeled more magical energy into it and made it a living thing, able to exist anywhere and to breed, therefore creating and causing a new race of dragons to come forth. But in the process of accomplishing this, something went very wrong, or perhaps very right, and the paper dragon's purpose was altered. Instead of protecting scrolls, it now considered them a source of food. Personally, I suspect that under the despotic control of the wizard, this new draconic life form adapted, as is the way of all dragons, to the path where it would break free of the shackles of servitude and instead rise to dominate its environment, which it most certainly does. The paper dragon can now be found in scrolls, spellbooks, or almost any source of magical writings. It derives nourishment from the magical inks used in such writings and the mystical energies infusing these works. By the time the wizard found this out, the dragon was already gone, leaving behind nothing but a few unappetizing technical manuals and storybooks behind in the distraught wizard's obliterated and thoroughly digested, once resplendent library, along with all the secrets of the paper dragon's creation. Due to its two-dimensional appearance and coloration, a paper dragon has a 50% chance of being mistaken in low torchlight for merely a drawing of a dragon. Closer inspection or better lighting reveals its true nature, but these creatures can hide in plain sight, as I'll detail later. These creatures are tiny, and they are quite literally an intricately folded paper dragon. The paper dragon's attacks are by two methods, well, three really. The first method is a physical attack with its two claws and its bite, and then there's a tail sting. The tail sting injects poison that causes a sleep on a failed saving throw. Even so, the toxin will leave the victim feeling a deep sense of drowsiness that lingers for 2d4 rounds. The Constitution save difficulty class is 14, while drowsy, the victim behaves as if they're suffering from the first 3 levels of exhaustion. They have disadvantage on all ability checks, speed is halved, and they have disadvantage on all attack rolls and saving throws. Pretty devastating. This does not stack, I should add, with any existing levels of exhaustion the victim may already be suffering from. It's not a deadly toxin. It's not designed to kill. The paper dragon's second mode of attack is hurling all of its most recently eaten spell energy. This is why I love this creature so damn much. It's pure chaos. You can literally give them any spells you want. In fact, most paper dragons are of a chaotic good alignment. They're not really evil. When encountered, a paper dragon has 1 to 4 magic scrolls it has in its lair that it's saving for food, and 1 spell that it contains from its last meal. It considers magic items of any kind to be suitable for its dragon hoard of treasure. It's only mildly interested in precious metals and actually a bit wary of precious gems that are cut and polished, as they have a lensing effect in strong sunlight that can set paper on fire, potentially destroying their source of food. They're not worried about fire themselves, as I'll talk about later as well. Magic scrolls are not the most plentiful food supply and can be tricky to get hold of, so the paper dragons have some extraordinary means to get them, and a lot of skills and senses that baffle those who study them. I won't go into any great details, but suffice to say that they have the ability to sense magic and the direction of magical things like that. They don't make these skills available to anyone. It's part of their nature to seek out and find magical sources for food. We shall talk about their unique powers of travel in a moment. Despite being made of living paper, they are not any more vulnerable to fire than you or I, and they don't have any particular resistance other than being immune to being blinded or deafened because they don't contain the normally sensory organs that us organic creatures do. They are resistant to magic though, making rolls with advantage on all saving throws against spells and other magical effects. As tiny creatures with high dexterity, they are difficult to target, but they're quite frail little creatures, so they do their best to avoid physical combat. Rather, they will stay well back and make ranged attacks with their spells, and then most likely flee the area, which they're quite capable of doing. They are reluctant to make physical attacks, but when they do so, they're furious and quite vicious. If they were much larger, they would be quite deadly. They make bite attack and 2 claw attacks per round, and can make an optional sleep, poison, stinger attack as well. If they have the opportunity, they will release a stored spell or consume a scroll to recharge their spell slinging ability. If the scroll was a protection scroll, the dragon could create the protective effect. If the scroll was cursed, the dragon has no effective spell attack, but otherwise ignores the ill effects of curses. They're just not affected by them. The paper dragon casts its spell or effect by appearing to burp in the direction of its victims. If hard pressed, a paper dragon may hurriedly gulp down part of or all of a scroll. It's able to eat one spell from a scroll without disturbing other spells on the same scroll, so it's basically snacking on it like a spell burrito. It can automatically read magic and determine which spell will be the most advantageous in the situation that it's in, and consumption of part or all of a scroll only takes the paper dragon 1 round as a standard action, with a lot of lip-smacking paper tearing action. After reviewing a few Paper Dragon homebrew listings found on D&D Beyond, I found they all differ quite a lot from the original monsters described, and so I've converted and created my own version, which I will read over for you now. So the Paper Dragon is a tiny dragon. It's chaotic good, as I mentioned. It's got a natural armor class of 15. It's got an average of 12 hit points, a total of 4d4 plus 2 if you're rolling on the dice. Speed on the ground is 10 feet, and it's got a flying speed of 60 feet, which is quite fast for a tiny creature. It's only got a strength of 3, dexterity is high 20, constitution is 13, not overly much, intelligence is 16, wisdom is 12, and charisma is 12. They have got a skill bonus of plus 7 to arcana and stealth, and a plus 3 to their perception as well. Passive perception is 13. They don't have dark vision. In fact, they don't appear to have eyes at all, so it's a bit of a mystery how they see, but they do. They understand draconic, common, and 2 other languages of your choice. They can read and write those languages, but they can't speak. They are listed as a challenge rating 2, with a proficiency bonus of plus 2. They've got the ability to hide in plain sight as a creature with such an improbable appearance. Those who have not seen them in action before will not recognise that they're living creatures at all and not just simply some folded paper model. By remaining motionless, a paper dragon can therefore hide in plain sight, even if a moment before in the darkness they just cast a spell. They've got an extraordinary ability called paper teleportation, where they're able to slip into a book and seem to merge with the pages. It has to be a magical tome. They can emerge again from the book or from another book, up to 120 feet away as a move action, or simply vanish into them and remain undetectable for an indefinite period of time. You can destroy the book, but the dragon isn't there. They may be able to travel to some other dimension, folded into a weird universe. They've got limited telepathy among themselves only, up to 60 feet. They've got magical resistance, where they have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. They've got innate spellcasting, but it's limited. The Paper Dragon's innate spellcasting ability is its intelligence. It's got a spell save DC of 14. This applies to any spell that they've consumed, no matter what level that spell was when they ate it. They can innately cast one spell from its last meal and will have 1d4 other scrolls nearby that it can consume and cast from without any need for material components. The bite attack is plus 5 to hit, has a 5-foot reach, and does 1 point of piercing damage. The claw attack also plus 5 to hit and does 1 point of slashing damage. The sleep poison sting is more interesting. It's got plus 5 to hit, 1 piercing damage, and the target must make a DC 14 constitution saving throw, falling unconscious on a failed save, or suffering from intense drowsiness on a successful one. Those effects last a maximum of 2d4 rounds or until the victim makes a successful saving throw on their next turn. I should mention that if they have fallen unconscious and they make their saving throw, they don't wake up drowsy, they just wake up fully functional. So they are making that saving throw to either recover from being unconscious or recover from being drowsy. Unconscious creatures are incapacitated, they drop whatever they're holding and fall prone, unable to speak or move, unaware of their environment. They automatically fail any saving throws for dexterity or strength. Attacks against the creature have advantage. Attacks within 5 feet will automatically inflict critical damage. Intense drowsiness is more interesting. You could use this as a condition yourself. Infers the effects of the first 3 levels of exhaustion. It does not stack with actual levels of exhaustion. I'm just using these as an example. Drowsy creatures' speed is halved, they have disadvantage on all ability checks, attack rolls and saving throws, and are generally quite groggy. Overall, paper dragons are good-natured, but they can be destructive. How they manage to reproduce and where they really do so is a complete mystery. I suspect there is some sort of folded universe within the far realm that they feel completely at home within. It may be that this dimension is where the original mage accidentally tapped into during the genesis of this new species of dragon. They have a deep antipathy towards imprisonment or any form of slavery as a result of their original conditions in which they are created. If slain, a paper dragon may be unfolded like an origami figure if the unfolder passes a DC 15 dexterity check and they have avoided accidentally tearing the paper. And also, if the dragon was killed by any sort of damage that causes tearing of their physical body, it will ruin this as well. But if they're killed in a way that doesn't damage them, they can unfold into a 1-foot square of fine sheet of paper upon which the contents of the last scroll it was eaten has been written down somehow. As far as I know, these creatures have no official information on just how far they've spread across the many worlds of Dungeons & Dragons, or if they're very widespread on Toril, or even how long they've been there. Anyways, as always, you are completely free to use them however you wish. I just relate what lore there is. It's not my intention or my role to ever tell you how to run your games, or how to make use of any monsters or lore that I describe. I'm here to inspire and inform. That's all. Please hit the like button if you've made it this far and you happen to like Paper Dragons. Subscribe if you like what I do. Check out my Subscribestar or Patreon for links for all the full scripts for these videos. Buy some Teespring merchandise from my shop. Fill your Christmas stocking. Wear your geek with pride. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more weird creatures for you this December very soon.